All right, my friends. I just pressed the Let's Go Live button, so let's wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet. And I forgot to do something. I forgot to change all the settings on the chat, I think. So let me go ahead and do that while we're here. Everything is still booting up. You know, we pressed the Let's Go Live button a little bit too soon. So we're just getting caught up. We're changing a couple buttons over here. How's everybody doing? It's a lovely Tuesday. This is what happens when you're distracted. Nobody's fault other than my own. But we're putting on subscribers mode right now. Putting on the playlist. I think we've got everything situated. Amateur hour today. The heck is going on here? Gosh, it's like, have you ever live streamed before? Hi, welcome to YouTube. Gosh, figured it out. It's working, I think. All right, I think I pressed all the buttons correctly. It looks like we're rocking and rolling. And so that means we can go ahead and get started already. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun, deep in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. And today, my friends, we are talking about Trump audio and some new Biden exposés, some new text messages from Hunter. So we've got some digital evidence to take a look at, text messages, bank transactions, and of course the Trump audio, which was a huge story yesterday. And then this morning, when we were on our members only stream, we were poking around to CNN and to Washington Post and the New York Times, and it all got sort of drowned out. Very interesting affair. But we're going to go through it. I actually want to go through the audio. I have it titled in our first segment that this audio proves nothing. We'll go through it. I've got a whole list of stuff I want to attend to. We, of course, are going to get the backstory from CNN. Where the hell did this audio come from? Why is it leaking out of the Department of Justice, the leaky DOJ, leaking all over the place? So we're going to go through that. Now, the left is just giddy as can be, like, Trump is done. And look at all these people on Twitter. They're just like, oh, gosh, I love nothing more than this. It's the best Tuesday of my life, better than my kid being born. So we're going to go through it. We've got the audio recording as well. It's about 2 minutes. Anderson Cooper is going to walk us through it a little bit. But then I've got a bunch of questions about it. So we're going to reiterate what I think is the best theme of this case. And anytime you have a case going to trial, attorneys will often talk about the theme of the case. What's your theme? And, they're talking that vernacular. So we're going to go through it. And I want to remind ourselves about things like the presumption of innocence, the burden of proof, why executive power in this matter is more important than congressional statute. We're going to go through some of my concerns, along with foundational problems that I think really make this tape largely irrelevant, including the fact that this didn't happen in Florida. It happened in Bedminster, New Jersey, which is not in Florida, where he's being prosecuted for Florida crimes happening in Florida. All right. We also have no dissemination charge is even in the statute or even in the indictment. Meaning, so what if he flashed some documents? He's not being charged for the flashing. He's being charged for the possession. And again, we're not in Florida. And then lastly, I've got questions about what the document is. I mean, what is it? Did they even have possession of the document? Was this something that was a part of a pamphlet? Was this item number 20 in the indictment? We'll go through all of that and more. Then I got questions about the witness. All right, what's the chain of custody of the recording? Was this AI rendered? Was this authentic? Did they add in the paper sounds? Did they reduce the background noise? I mean, we know they clipped out some time. So what happened here? Who drafted this up? We've got questions about it. Who recorded it? Things like biases, pressure from the feds. We've got inklings about who the staff members are. And then, of course, so what if somebody saw it? They may have seen a document, but can they confirm that it was classified at all? No. We'll go through all of that in the very first segment. Then Trump responded to this, and he's actually defending this audio, rightfully so. I don't think it is a problem, really, as we'll see. It's not a problem for this criminal case. If they want to charge him in Pennsylvania, maybe that's a different story. But this, or New Jersey, rather. But Trump is also defending the audio because it really is totally fine, according to him. And we see that there's evidence in the audio that actually points the finger back at Milley, back at Pelosi, and back at Hillary. kind of being jokey about the whole thing and saying that this document may have been taken by Trump, if it was actually taken by Trump, which would imply intentional, whether it was necessary to defend himself from the smears and the allegations that are being proffered by Milley. So we'll go through all of that. We've got reaction from MSNBC. Look at Rachel Maddow. This was her last night. She's like having conversations with herself, kind of like I do here. You know, we have strange conversations with ourselves. But I mean, hopefully I don't look like that when we have them here. Maybe I do. I don't know. So we've got Andrew Weismann as well. He is the MSNBC knows-it-all, and we'll go through and see what he had to say about it before we turn our attention over to the White House. The White House, I think, replaced Karine Jean-Pierre with this woman. I mean, there was a press briefing today, and we were looking for Karine, and suddenly this person showed up. Like, who the heck is this? We got some questions about who this person is, because it's certainly not Karine. We were expecting Karine. But they maybe replaced Karine. They're like, all right, you're doing a bad job with this Hunter Biden stuff, and so you're behind stage today. They brought out this other person, and it's not Karine. I know, it's shocking. And it's kind of caught me off guard too, but it's true, it's not. You can tell by the hair, I think. It's probably a key indicator. So she came out and is explaining nothing about what the Biden crime family is involved in. She says, well, you know, he has a family. And we'll go through those clips. And then they brought out Jen Psaki, who is, I think, maybe related to this person. You know, I don't know. Looks like Jen Psaki. I don't know. This is going to be a complicated segment while we're figuring out who all these press people are. And so she's asking the question, do you even understand Biden love America? Do you know what it's like to have the type of bond that Joe has with Hunty? Then we've got the media supercut. This was a great clip from Tom S. Elliott on Twitter over from Grabian. They put together this assembly of the media just covering up for the Biden crime family. It's a lot of fun. It's like 2 minutes, and you can just see these people are very, very animated about the Biden love affair. So we'll go through all of that. Then there's new evidence from the Oversight Committee from Congress that shows that Hunter sent even more text messages for money. And this one involving China, involving somebody named Z. We're going to go through it. The Oversight Committee dropped this in a thread on Twitter. And there's evidence that Hunter sent some text messages, and then lo and behold, the next day wakes up and there's financial transactions that have been gleaned from the Oversight Committee when they went and visited the Treasury Department that shows that Hunter got big, fat bank account deposits right in his bank account. Pretty amazing. There's also text with Rob Walker saying that an FBI agent was asking specifically a Hunter business partner whether Joe Biden was in the room, and the answer is yes, he was there. Was he there? Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. So lots of good stuff there. Nancy Pelosi can't be bothered to talk about any of this. A reporter asked her about it, and she's like, I can't talk. It's only abortion on my mind. Abortion, abortion, abortion. Leave me alone. I'm going to deliver abortions or something. This is a weird exchange. We also have Jim Jordan, who is explaining that he really wants to talk to David Weiss, the U.S. attorney out of Delaware, along with Leslie Wolf, the U.S. attorney who was on the investigatory team with the Biden administration. And evidently, you know, the FBI, they want basically every single informant that they could possibly get their hands on so that they can insurrect the Capitol the next time and invade attorneys' offices and so on and so forth, including prayer groups and whatever. But when an informant comes to the FBI and says, hey, I've got the goods on the Bidens, guess what? They're like, oh, no, we're full on informants. No, thanks. No, do we have any openings, Lou? Do we have any openings for federal informants? He wants to inform on the Democrats, though. Oh, no, we're full. Sorry, we're not here. Why don't you go try Texas or something? So that's what the FBI said. Then we've got some clips from Byron Donalds, who is a lot of fun as per usual. And so if you want to be a part of the show, my friends, you can see there's a lot to get to. And after the show is over, we always stick around for our locals community and have an after party for our members only. And we would love it if you joined us. In fact, we do morning streams only too. We try to deliver a lot of value for our members. This morning, we talked about two things. The weaponized CISA report saying that CISA colluded with big tech. So that video will be coming out shortly, or you can join and catch it. Or we also talked about Moore versus Harper, which was this election clause case that dropped today. So those are coming up. If you're a member, you get them first, you get them fresh out of the oven. And so thanks for joining us over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, where we do some other cool stuff every morning. We check the headlines, check the docket, check what's going on with Trump's case, see what's happening in Congress. They're all on like district work week this week. It's like, give me a break. And we also have our private members only Telegram group, which you can join if you're a YouTube member or on Locals. Also, if you're interested in puppies, I shared some images about the puppies yesterday. Check out or send an email to my Mama Govea, Marianne@ericshouse.org if you'd like some golden doodle puppies. They are looking for good homes over there. And so, of course, before we get into the program, let's make sure we're properly nutrified and fortified, courtesy of our friends at fieldofgreens.com, because we all would like to lose some of those leftover pandemic pounds. It's summertime, baby. But how sick are you of all the ads for weight loss pills and fad diets? You know, we've all been there. We've all done that. And it's just something, they just don't work. But you know what does? Eating 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. You do that, and the weight would probably just fall off. But look, vegetables, not a fan, and fruit, who's got time to prepare that every day? I don't. Instead, let's talk about Field of Greens. Now, Field of Greens is a science-backed formula, very specific fruits and vegetables that you won't find in any other product. Proper nutrition reboots your metabolism so you burn calories faster and lose weight a healthier way. And Field of Greens is the only brand backed by a better health promise. Yes, you'll look and feel healthier fast, but the greater proof comes at your next checkup when your doctor says, "Whoa, baby, you've lost weight." Whatever you're doing, keep it up. So let's get you started. Go on over to fieldofgreens.com. Don't forget to enter code Robert at checkout. I mean, you know, it's critical. Code Robert at checkout. That way you can save 15% off when you check out. 15% off. Fieldofgreens.com. The vegetables want to be eaten. That's why they're here. Look at how happy they are. How can you deny them? Go to fieldofgreens.com. Make the vegetables happy and use code Robert. All right. So let's get into the meat and potatoes on the day, my friends. The Trump audio has been released. This audio, supposedly the most damning piece of evidence that we've ever seen in this historic case of Trump wrecking America. And we're going to go through this in great detail because I think it's really much ado about nothing, kind of a large nothing burger. Not even sure it's in the indictment. It's a charged offense, which we're going to break down. But the left is very excited about it. In fact, if you turn your attention over to Twitter, you'll see that all over the place. This is it. This is the nail in the coffin. Trump is done. There's no further, blah, blah, blah. The same crap basically we've heard every year for the last half decade. Same type of thing. We'll hit the highlights on exactly what their reaction looked like. And then we're going to break down why they're wrong. I've got several different things I'd like to run through, including the defense theme and some of the basic principles of criminal law, the foundational problems that exist, including things like jurisdiction and the fact that this document is not even, I think, facially in the criminal charging document. We also don't even know if they have actual possession of this document. We've got questions about the chain of custody, who recorded it, whether they can even verify and confirm that it was classified, and then we'll check and see if there's any responses from Judge Eileen Cannon. So we are going to listen to the audio, but before we do, where did this audio come from? On this channel, we've spent a lot of time talking about the protective orders that have been ordered against Trump. Trump can't even so much as take his notes home with him. He can't take the police report, any discovery with him. If he goes to his attorney's office and takes notes about what he read, can't even take those home. That's how strict the protective order is against him. But in this case, we have entire audio files leaking out. What? It's not like somebody at Jack Smith's office just called CNN and said, hey, you know, the audio is pretty bad or something. It's a phone call. It's physical hard evidence. Somebody sent an email, put it on a thumb drive, sent it in a CD-ROM. Who knows how it got out? But it's a problem, is it not? If Trump was in violation of his protective order, he would be held in contempt of court, or an order to show cause would be issued. He'd have his butt dragged in there, scolded, explain how this got out from your counsel's office, blah, blah, blah. and then maybe held in contempt, or his attorneys could be sanctioned for it. But when the DOJ leaks, no consequences. And CNN is not even telling us how they got it. So before we listen to it, here's the background. This was an exclusive. And it's always very convenient how they drop this stuff right when Biden's in the middle of a strong headwinds. In this case, IRS whistleblowers, one after the other, coming out and confirming what they were involved in. So CNN conveniently publishes this one. Exclusive. Obtains audio tape of Trump's 2021 conversation about classified documents. They say CNN has exclusively obtained the audio of the recording of the 2021 meeting in, here it is, Bedminster, New Jersey, where Trump discusses holding secret documents he did not declassify. We're going to break all of this down. But Bedminster, New Jersey is not Florida, where he's being charged. So that would be like you robbing a store in Florida robbing a store in New Jersey and then being charged with a crime in Florida. That's not how that works. Now, when we were reading through this, we were thinking that this was part of a transfer of a document. Maybe he had possession of the document in New Jersey and then transferred the document back down to Florida. And so that's possession and transfer across. This could be a whole different set of charges that come from that. But the point is, we got to make sure that the criminality that they're alleging that happened in this audio recording matches what is actually being charged. It's got to be listed in there as the charge. What is the criminal conduct? Where is the criminal conduct located? And then how does that translate into a filing that we can identify? They got to match. You can't just have, abstract criminal charges out there that don't show up in the indictment somewhere, or vice versa. The facts of reality have to be translated into the document. But if this is an audio recording that was a meeting in New Jersey, well, that's not Florida. Let's see. The recording, which first aired on CNN's Anderson Cooper, includes new details from the conversation that is a critical piece of evidence in Jack Smith's indictment, including a moment when Trump seems to indicate he was holding a secret Pentagon document with plans to attack Iran. And we'll go through it, so we'll listen to the audio. But the audio recording comes from a 2021 interview Trump gave at his resort for people working on a memoir of Mark Meadows, right? We've got questions about who recorded this. So it came from an interview Trump gave, but does that mean that the recording came from the interviewer? Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, was there, and people are speculating that Meadows was the person who actually flipped on Trump. The special counsel's indictment alleges that those in attendance, a writer, a publisher, and 2 Trump staff members, were shown classified information about the plan of attack on Iran. The episode is one of 2 referenced in the indictment where prosecutors allege that Trump showed this material to other people who didn't have the clearances. Now, CNN has previously reported that Trump at the time was furious over a New Yorker article about Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, that said Milley argued against striking Iran, and he was concerned that Trump would do it. So Milley, on his way out, is saying Trump's a maniac. He just caused an insurrection. He's going to attack Iran and all this stuff. In the audio, we'll see Trump is showing that the document was prepared by Milley, delivered to Trump, almost to encourage Trump to attack Iran. Trump's campaign spokesman says it proves Trump did nothing wrong at all. And as we see, we go through this, they're giving us a rehashing of the indictment, but we're not seeing any sourcing of the audio. All a transcript, but no sourcing of the audio. Where'd they get this from? From the journalist who was doing the memoirs on Meadows? Probably not. I would imagine that this leaked from the DOJ. And the question is where and why and how. So it's curious. Now, we also have the Trump indictment because the audio recording is detailed in this indictment. And we went through this when it broke. It's 44 pages. They give us some explanation about phone calls at Mar-a-Lago, classified information. We've gone through this at length. And as we scroll down, we're going to fast forward all the way to the point where we see the conversation that they're discussing in this audio recording. Here it is. They tell us on July 21st, when he was no longer president, Trump gave an interview at his office at the Bedminster Club. That's New Jersey. Remember, this case is filed in Florida. To a writer and a publisher in connection with the forthcoming book. 2 members of the Trump staff also attended the interview, so questions about who those people are. Andrew Weismann and others have ideas, which was recorded with Trump's knowledge and consent. Before the interview, the media had published a report that Trump's senior military official, that's Milley, feared that Trump would attack Iran. Official advised Trump against doing so. That's according to Milley. Trump says no. Trump says Milley basically gave him the attack plan and said, go for it. Upon greeting the writer, publisher, and 2 of his staff members, Trump stated, look what I found. This was Milley's plan of attack. And then the audio picks up. So they give us this transcription. We know there's a writer who says something, a staffer says something. We know there's a ... here. So was stuff, cut out? Is that a page section? We don't know if there was editing done on this audio. We also don't know what the chain of custody looks like with the audio. So we'll go through it now with all of that pointed out so that we have some background. Here is what it sounded like when CNN broke the story, taking what I imagine is illegally leaked evidence and publishing it on their so-called news station.
You have obtained what is expected to be a central piece of the government's case against Donald Trump.
We'll see.
The actual audio recording of the former president talking as if he's showing a highly classified document on U.S. war plans against Iran with people not cleared to even know it exists, let alone what's in it. In a moment, only on CNN, you will hear what jurors will hear one day. The recording was made 2 summers ago, July 2021, at the former president's club in Bedminster, New Jersey. You will clearly hear the former president as he is speaking to several people. According to the special counsel's indictment, they include a writer working on Mark Meadows' memoir, the publisher, and 2 of Trump's staff members. The president was aware he was being recorded. This is the first time it is being played publicly.
These are bad, sick people.
That was your coup, against you.
Well, it started right at the
like
beginning.
when Milley's talking about, you were going to try to do a coup. No, they were trying to do that before you even were sworn in.
That's right.
Trying to overthrow your election.
Well, with Milley, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look.
Hear the audio?
This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him.
Wow.
We looked at some. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. It's pages long. Look.
Okay, I want to pay close attention to this. Pages long. Look, right? I have a question about whether these 31 documents or what portion of those documents are all part of the same filing, the same binder. Is it a memo that has 12 pages on it, and is each one of those pages charged individually as a different crime? I don't know.
Wait a minute. Let's see here.
He's going through stuff.
Yeah.
I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case,
Totally wins my case.
Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. Look at this. You attack, and
Hillary would print that out all the time,
Yes.
she'd send
Private
it,
email.
she'd send it to
Yeah.
Anthony Weiner, the pervert.
Pervert.
By the way,
Please
isn't
print.
that incredible?
Yeah.
Print.
I was just saying, because we were talking about it. And he said, he wanted to attack Iran and what? These are the
You did.
papers.
It's pretty-
This was done by the military, given to me.
They did it.
I think we can probably, right?
I don't know, we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
Declassified.
figure out
See, as
yeah.
president, I could have declassified.
Yeah.
Now I can't, but this is
Yeah,
classified.
now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so, we heard I have, and you probably almost didn't believe me, but now you believe me.
No, I believe
It's
you.
incredible, right?
No,
Hey, bring some Cokes in, please.
More Cokes, please. We need some more Cokes in here. We're getting a little parched here. So bring some more Cokes in here as we talk about how General Milley was trying to frame me with Iran attack plans. All right. So he's got these documents out, and you can see where some people are latching on to different parts of this transcript, saying things like, this is highly confidential, except it's highly confidential. And we've got a rebuttal to this. I understand the point. It's him acknowledging, they say, the left, that he's recognizing that the status of this document is officially classified and that he is now in illegal possession of those documents. I don't interpret it that way. I think it is technically a declassified document because it's Trump's document. We'll get to this. And it is marked classified. Of course, it is secret information. It is stuff that he's exercising his judgment about to not give out publicly. So, it's secret information, but it's mine and it is declassified. He's not saying these things, but this is the status of the document. And I'm sure it looks very scary. I'm sure it's a scary document. In fact, you can hear people go, oh my gosh, look at it. It's a tech. It's like, it probably says like, attack Iran by Donald Trump. And he's like, the hell is this, Milley? Don't put my name on this. This is not mine. So it's multiple pages, and this is the big audio. This is the big reveal. And we've got questions about who the staffers are and who actually filed the recording, and a lot more questions, including the following that we'll get to in a minute. But first, I want to share the reaction, because a lot of people on Twitter, the usual suspects, the people you'd suspect, they say that Trump is now dead to rights. Have we ever heard that before? I feel like it's deja vu or something here again. After the incredibly damning tape of him showing off the secret docs. I think it's pretty damning to Hillary that she would just print things. And he kind of mocked Anthony Weiner in there. And he blasted Mark Milley and the deep state for wanting endless war and trying to smear him and frame him for something that he never did. So this is how Mediaite frames it. And they've gone through and they've got a long list of the people on Twitter who are just very excited about it. And you can see some of them are here, including George Conway. George Conway said, if the defendant Trump doesn't go to prison for at least 5 to 10 years, it would be a travesty. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton goes free. Her people smashed their phones with hammers and then used deletion software to delete all of their evidence. The prosecutors have him dead to rights in more ways than we can count. Well, we're going to ask if you can count at least one of them. How do you show that that is a Florida crime? Is it even in the indictment? We'll look at it. We've also got Ryan Goldman. He says the defendant, in his own words, is narrating his crime. All right. We've got Adam Kinzinger, who's usually, crying somewhere in America. He says it's just stunning to hear it. It's just stunning. Huh? We've got Asowin, who says, I wish I loved doing anything as much as Trump does, saying incriminating things, just an absolute addict. Jackie Heinrich, and so on, right? You get the gist of it. Rick Wilson says damning as hell, because they don't like the guy. But we've got questions about how this translates into criminal charges, because it's something that they've got to prove. And so we've got a lot of questions about it. Before we dig into the major foundational problems that I think really make this audio largely irrelevant, is the baseline of the theme of this case. Criminal cases and other cases, we often have themes in the case. What's your theme? It's this guy didn't murder the person, that guy did, right? Or whatever, it's a lover's quarrel. You come up with some, fancy theme and you take it. This theme is these documents were labeled classified. This is one part of a theme. Labeled classified, but were technically declassified. All right. In other words, it looks scary, but it isn't. All of those oohs and ahs, like it looks scary, but it isn't. These are documents that have a bunch of markings on them. They're just stamps. They're old, antiquated, declassified documents that look scary, but they're not classified. Now, in criminal law, we always start with the presumption of innocence. Everybody starts there, which means we start at zero. Trump is completely innocent at this moment. Now, I know nobody will give him the benefit of the doubt, but that's how the law is supposed to stand here. And when somebody starts there at the presumption of innocence at base layer 0, we have to talk about the burden of proof. And the burden relies on the government. It lays on them. Trump doesn't have to disprove anything. So when it comes to this audio, not only do they have to show us that the audio is authentic and legitimate, recorded legally, and that it wasn't tampered, and the chain of custody is appropriate, and all of these things, but they've got to do that for every single element of this criminal charge, not just the audio, everything. And the burden is not on Trump to disprove it. They have to prove it. And when we zoom out on that, those are the two foundational concepts here. We also have this idea of the separation of powers, and the idea that executive power in this power battle that we have is supreme over congressional power. Congress created this Presidential Records Act by statute, not by constitutional amendment. So Trump's original claim to executive power supersedes that. Otherwise, we would exist in a topsy-turvy constitutional framework where Congress, by statute, could regulate the root power that is entrusted to the president as literally the commander-in-chief, which is the entity that governs military documents. So if there was a movement of the documents, whatever the status was, Trump ultimately declassified them de facto. The fact that he moved them and retained them as the president, as the commander-in-chief, that power cannot be limited by Congress's statute. If they wanted to put powers over confidential documents or something that the president absolutely had to follow, they should amend the Constitution and write it in there. Now, the fact that other presidents haven't challenged this in this way before is okay as precedent, but Trump shatters these precedents. And so this is all a new and novel theory of law. And complying, if that was not the truth, if Trump had to comply with a formal declassification procedure, then that would necessarily imply that Congress can usurp the presidential power. That's why none of this makes sense. And so I'm looking forward to hearing more about this argument as it unfolds. And that is just the starting point. When we look into this audio recording, we also know that there are some other serious foundational problems here. The most obvious is that this was not recorded in Florida. The crimes alleged in the indictment all occurred in the state of Florida. How do we know that? Well, it's because they tell us. And that's because that's how jurisdiction works. You can't commit a crime in Texas and then charge somebody in New Hampshire unless it crosses state lines, unless it invokes jurisdiction in federal courts that can tie the two jurisdictions together. How do we know? We scroll down all the way to the different counts. Look, counts 1 to 31. Willful retention of national defense information. We know the audio was recorded in Bedminster, New Jersey. So the possession of that document obviously can't be in this filing because here they say on or about the date set forth in the table below. Guess where? Palm Beach County. Is that in New Jersey? I don't think so. In the Southern District of Florida or elsewhere, the defendant, Donald Trump. You see this right here? Southern District of Florida. That's where the willful retention happened. So I don't know what he was waving around in New Jersey, but unless that document came back to Florida, that is not even charged here. Because this is only about the Southern District of Florida. All of these counts are all about the Southern District of Florida. That he had control over documents related to national defense. And we don't know exactly what that document is, even if that document is in this table. Is it? I don't know. I was scrolling through this earlier, and I thought maybe it's this document, document number 20. This one, January 20th, August 8th, top secret, Orcon, no foreign, an undated document concerning the timeline and details of an attack in a foreign country. I would imagine that's Iran. But what's curious about this is, are these just different pages? Are these different literal slips of paper? Because a lot of these other things are also undated. This one's concerning nuclear weaponry. This one's about military operations. This one's about military capabilities of a foreign country. So let's say, for example, you said, the military puts together their book report on attacking a foreign power. It's not just a single sheet of paper, right? It's gonna be like a binder of stuff. It's gonna be a pamphlet, a memo, something that's probably nice, probably costs, $15,000 just for the cover sheets in there, federal government budgets. So it's going to be a bunch of stuff in there. So if he's flipping through a binder, is that all of these documents in that one note? This one, right? Because you can see almost about, it's like a compendium of information all stacking up. Here, this one, November 17, 2017. Military capabilities. This one, updated document concerning military contingency planning. This one, pages undated related to regional military capabilities of a foreign country. So you could see this could be an Iran document. This could be an Iran document. Military capabilities of a foreign country, Iran. Options of a foreign country and potential effects, military options. This is all probably the same thing. It's all probably an Iran binder. Document dated about policies in a foreign country. So that's like page 15, like page 1, felony. I'll be very curious to see about this. Page 1, felony. Page 2, felony. Page 3, felony. Page 4, felony. All of it working its way up. Document dated, foreign country support. So this says Iran supports terrorists. Another felony for Trump. So do you see what this is? Like, Milley delivers a binder of felonies to Trump. Here you go. Hold on to this. We're going to charge you with the crime for every one of these. Document dated March 20th. Maybe he just slipped it in there on the way out. It's just one binder. Here you've got updated document regarding the military capabilities of foreign countries. And it's almost like the table of contents. You could say, what's Iraq doing? Or what's Iran doing to support terrorists? All right, that's chapter 1. Chapter 2 is going to be, what is their updated capabilities? Okay, chapter 3. What are foreign countries' capabilities? Chapter 4. What's our nuclear weaponry capability? Chapter 5. What's our Saudi Arabia's response going to be? Military capabilities of them. All right, what's the Taliban that we left $80 billion of equipment going to do? Regional military activity of the Taliban in Afghanistan that Biden did a terrible job on. Okay, like literally, all of this could just be part of the same thing. Document dated about White House intelligence briefing related to foreign countries. Another undated document concerning military activity of a foreign country. Document dated about, same thing. It all could be related to the same dang thing. Like, this whole thing could be an Iran thing, right? Which I would imagine they've got to have possession of that then. And they might be alleging that Trump was waving this around at Bedminster, New Jersey, but this thing came back to Florida, and that's where the willful retention happened. And all of these dates are basically, matching up. November, it feels like they're all, well, I think that's the date, yeah. So you can see, it's a very, very strange affair that's happening. Now, the other charges, which are not implicated by, well, maybe you could say this one was implicated, but this one, again, a conspiracy to obstruct. Maybe Trump in that recording is conspiring, right? That's a conspiracy. We've got him dead to rights. Yeah, but he's not being charged for that. Are they going to charge him in New Jersey for that? Because here, this says in Palm Beach County in Florida. That's where they conspired. So, all right, so they better charge him someplace else. The purpose of the conspiracy was to collude. Withholding, again, Florida. Withholding is in Florida. We've got concealing a document in Florida, because this is how it works. So everything is taking place in Florida. This happened outside of Florida. I think Trump's attorneys are going to try to keep it out because it's not a crime that is alleged here. It may have happened, but it happened outside of Florida. So the government's going to have to show, and here's where they say in Southern District of Florida and elsewhere, right? And elsewhere, that Trump made false statements and representations. So it's going to be we're going to have a jurisdictional component to this. There's going to be a jurisdictional battle. So the entire audio recording that they say is now dead to rights for Trump, it wasn't even recorded in Florida. We don't even know what document it is referencing. It's got a lot of it begs the questions about what the other charges look like, and if they're all related to the same pamphlet, which would really make this even a much more minimal case because it's like one document, not 300 boxes that they kept floating around all over the media. So we've got more questions about this. Now, the audio recording itself, if we zoom out, it was specifically recorded on what? Was it on an open device that was sitting out in front of Trump's residence? And they were all just talking into it. Was this a surreptitious recording where somebody was wearing a wire? We've got questions about the authenticity of it. We're going to hear Trump's response to this in another segment. But Trump says, I haven't even listened to it. So how do we know it's authentic? How do we know that they haven't added sounds to this? By the way, this didn't come from the DOJ. Even if it came from the DOJ, I would have a lot of doubts about it. But it came to CNN. And what the heck did CNN do with it? Where did they get it from? And who gave it to CNN? So we know that somebody clipped it because they didn't just put the raw file out on CNN. Somebody must have cut it for time, limited it. They cut the first part of it out. They cut the last part of it out because somebody didn't just press record and they got Trump in that 2 minutes. So somebody clearly adjusted the audio. They may not have manipulated it, but they definitely edited it. That's how it got online, and that's how it got on CNN's news station. So did they depress any of the audio noise? Did somebody go in there and just say, there's a lot of background noise, that air conditioner was running, so why don't we just turn down that a little bit? Did that happen? I don't know. Did they close up the time? Did they leave anything out? We've got questions about this thing being rendered by AI. Trump is not going to listen to it or confirm it. He's never going to say, oh, that was me. Just don't listen to it and never respond to it at all. He'll get asked, never listen to it, but I never broke the law at any moment in time. So remember, the reason I pointed out these two base layer principles is that the burden of proof lies with the government. They've got to prove all of those other things, right? They've got to authenticate it and verify, validate it. And that will be something that will continue to ask questions about. We also have questions about who recorded it. Did Walt record it, or was this somebody? And the person who was recording this, did they have personal biases? Are they Trump fans? Presumably, they're in the room. Were they pressured by the feds? Did anybody take a plea deal? Was anybody under the microscope of federal prosecutors saying, go in and record this, and if you do, we'll give you a better plea deal? Was this person recording granted immunity? Who was the staff that was there? Was it the journalist? We don't know. And even if that person does testify about a crime that is not even alleged in the indictment, can they confirm, unless they've got possession of that document, can they confirm that it and validate that it was classified and not just marked classified? No, of course not, because they're not credentialed to do that, presumably. That's the entire argument that the left is making, is Trump is showing these things to people who are not credentialed to see it. Well, then that means they're not credentialed to tell us whether it's classified or unclassified or declassified. So when we zoom all the way out on this thing, the separation of powers, the root power of the commander-in-chief, the executive of the military, gives Trump the umbrella power over this entire process. Now, I've also got a lot of questions about who leaked this and how it got leaked. This is the latest update from the court docket, and I want to see if anything got filed while we were recording. And there is something that got filed. There was an update on the case today. This literally was not here before we started the show. Walt, his arraignment got postponed. Co-defendant Walt Nauta was supposed to be arraigned today, but something happened. The flight was canceled. So his flight got bumped, so he didn't show up. His counsel was requesting a continuance. No objection from the government. The arraignment got reset for July 6th. Not much of an update there, but that's what's happening with Walt. And so we'll see what Judge Cannon has to say about this. I'm sure she's not going to be happy that key evidence is being leaked by the very leaky Department of Justice without any consequence. If Trump did it, they would be hauling him into court with an order to show cause. And we'll see if there's any repercussions for the government. But as we can see, I think the audio really is a nothing burger. And if you poke around, I think you might notice that, as we saw this morning on our members-only stream, that CNN and the New York Times and Washington Post and all of the others, the people who had this in giant red font, all removed it relatively quickly, because I don't think it proves all that much, quite frankly. It's out of the District of Florida. It is a lot of testimony that we don't know correlates to any direct charges there. So maybe they're stretching. Or maybe they've got another plan. Maybe they're going to file other charges in New Jersey plus DC. Time will tell. We'll continue to follow. All right, my friend. Now, Trump is responding to all of this, and here's what he says. In the wake of the new audio released by CNN claiming that Trump was knowingly in possession of classified documents and that he's now dead to rights in the wake of this recording, Trump responds. He actually defends himself, rightfully so. He says, I have been completely above board my entire life and career. I don't even need to listen to the audio to tell you that I know that nothing in there is problematic. It says everything was totally fine. Now, the audio, as we've listened to, has interesting points about Milley and questions about Hillary. And we're going to fill in the gaps on some of those concepts shortly, because the document was being used by Trump to rebut allegations that he wanted to attack Iran. Trump says, no, it wasn't me. Milley was the person who wanted to attack Iran. And there's some interesting clips showing, when we rewind the clock, that Milley was colluding with Pelosi in order to do just that. And Hillary also had some classified document problems of her own that were much more problematic than anything we heard in the Trump audio. So this is Donald Trump responding to this. He's speaking with Fox News Digital, and here's how this conversation went.
And I said it very clearly. I had a whole desk full of lots of papers and mostly newspaper articles, copies of magazines, copies of different plans, copies of stories having to do with many, many subjects. And what was said was absolutely fine and very, very perfectly. We did nothing wrong. This is a whole hoax. This is just like the Russia deal. This is like the fake dossier.
Collusion,
the dossier was a fake. It's all been a big fake. Ukraine. We went through these things ad nauseum, and this is 7 years of this stuff, and now this one. And the one who's done it wrong is Biden. He has 850 boxes all over the place. Nobody even knows where they are. He's got many boxes in Chinatown, D.C. What are they doing there? And he's accepting money from China. He's got boxes all over the place. I'm covered by the Presidential Records Act. I'm covered also by the Clinton Sox case. It's a very important.
And Trump, you're also covered by the fact that you were the president of the country, the commander-in-chief, the root power. Congress wrapping their little grubby fingers around you and saying, oh, you have to put your documents here and you're filing this and put it in a manila folder and fill out the form to Deborah before you can take it. No, you're also the president, in addition to those other things.
Case, it's law. And we did absolutely nothing wrong. This is just another hoax. It's called, I would say, election interference more than anything else. It's a disgrace that they can do it. Next question. But everything was fine. We did nothing wrong, and everybody knows it.
You're not concerned then with your own voice on those recordings?
My voice was fine. What did I say wrong on those recordings? I didn't even see the recording. All I know is I did nothing wrong. We had a lot of papers stacked up. In fact, you could hear the rustle of the paper, and nobody said I did anything wrong, other than the fake news, which of course is Fox too.
Are there any other recordings that we should be concerned of?
I don't know of any recordings that you should be concerned with, because I don't do things wrong. I do things right. I'm a legitimate person. I'm not like Biden that gets hundreds of millions of dollars from people and countries and says, we won't give $1 billion, but you got to get rid of the prosecutor. And then guys like you don't do anything about it because nothing happens. No, we do things right, so I don't care about any recordings.
Supreme Court earlier today, in a 6-3 vote, they rejected the independent state legislative theory, which allows that state lawmakers have the authority to set election rules with little oversight from the courts. Again,
We have a full video on this coming out, by the way, so if you haven't seen that, it is coming soon.
6-3 ruling. What is your take on that?
Well, that was a North Carolina case primarily, so we'll see what happens. It's election law. It's what they wanted. It's what they felt. A lot of people disagree with them. The ruling came out just a little while ago. I haven't read the ruling yet. It was, again, a North Carolina case. We'll see how it works. In the meantime, I can say I did very well in North Carolina. I did very well in just about every place, frankly, and we'll see what happens.
Last week, going back to that interview with Brett Barry, you mentioned that for every one of your hires that was not good, 10 were fantastic. Those were, I believe, your words last week. If you win back to presidency, is there anybody in particular that you would like to see from the first administration in a second Trump administration?
Oh, sure. We've had a lot of people, Stephen Miller and General Kellogg, and I could name so many. Rick Grinnell was fantastic. We had mostly fantastic people. I would say and everybody has bad ones. You have some that are good, but they turn out to be not so good.
Christopher
They're
Wray.
not courageous enough, like a Bill Barr. He had no courage. But you have, for everyone like that, I've had, I would say, at least 10 that were great. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cuts in the history of our country. We got the largest regulation cuts in history. We had the strongest border that anybody's ever had. We've never seen a border like that, and now it's a disaster with people coming in from jails and mental institutions pouring into our country. We had the strongest southern border ever. When you think about rebuilding the military and Space Force, we added Space Force, first time in 78 years. Since the Air Force, actually, it's become very important. No, we had a great administration. We didn't have a disaster like Afghanistan where they leave $85 billion behind, 13 dead soldiers. That should have never happened. American citizens left behind. I think it was the most embarrassing moment in history. If the election weren't rigged, and you won't put it on because you're Fox, but if the election weren't rigged, you wouldn't have had the Russia disaster, the horrible, horrible situation with Ukraine. That would have never happened. Putin wouldn't have done it. And China would never be talking about Taiwan right now either, which could be the next one.
It would be a whole different country, a much better country. And it's a shame that we don't have that happening right now. Instead, we are on the brink of World War III. And we have a totally corrupt and weaponized DOJ, FBI, and White House, which is a big problem. But you can see Trump not too concerned, actually, about the audio recording. Totally fine. Don't even need to listen to it. I don't do things illegal. So that's all there is to it. Don't worry about other recordings. Don't worry about saying anything bad because I don't break the law. Now, Trump in the audio is talking about this very interesting proposal from General Milley. Milley, on Trump's exit, was doing some curious things. He was, I would say, almost colluding with people like Nancy Pelosi and others to remove Trump. Remember, after January 6th happened, we saw them talking about the 25th Amendment and them saying to Trump, get up over there, and Pelosi calling Milley and saying, get Trump off his butt and all this stuff. And the documents are being used by Trump to refute the claim that Trump was going to attack Iran. And so here you can see more evidence of that collusion, and hindsight is just so amazing. You can see how obvious these relationships feel when we look at them through a lens of history.
Well, tonight, more shocking revelations about the final days of the Trump administration, including serious talk of a potential attack on Iran.
What?
And a big intelligence failure within the Secret Service leading up to the Capitol riot.
Of course.
We get more details tonight from CBS's Chris Van Cleve.
A new report tonight reveals former President Trump's top general was actively working to stop him from striking Iran in the final days of his presidency.
Actively working to stop Trump. That's interesting. Does actively working to stop Trump include drafting an entire dossier of attack plans and giving it to Trump?
See, if you do this, you're going to have a expletive war, General Mark Milley would say, according to the article.
Yeah, right.
The same concern held by
these people want endless war. Trump has been the only person who has not committed us to new wars. Joe Biden walked in. We got rid of a brand new one, probably going to be in 2 by the time we're done with his administration.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who told 60 Minutes she called the chairman of the Joint Chiefs personally.
I have sought information from those who are in a position to know that there are protections against this dangerous president initiating any military hostilities or something worse than that.
Before General Milley...
You see her? And she was calling Milley back then, and she was colluding with him. They were trying to invoke the 25th Amendment and get him out of there early because they didn't want to wait until Joe Biden had to be sworn in. They wanted him out now. They were so concerned that he was going to do something on the way out, pardon Assange, pardon Snowden, do something by declassifying stuff. They needed leverage on him. They needed January 6th. That's why they had the second impeachment. And that's why the media is doing a full strike on him to try to smear him and get him out of office even quicker.
Left a January 3rd meeting, the president told him his January 6th rally was going to be a big deal and asked, you're ready for that, right?
Yeah, so he's asking the Department of Defense to prepare for January 6th. They didn't.
The New Yorker reports it was the last time the two would speak. Newly revealed Secret Service documents show the agency underestimated the threat on January 6th,
Yeah, you're kidding.
repeatedly reporting there is no indication of civil disobedience.
Amazing. No indication of civil disobedience. It's almost like the people were not planning for anything until the feds show up and caused it.
The agency had given the go-ahead for Mike Pence to travel to the Capitol on the 6th and later had to rush him off the Senate floor. His protective detail implored the vice president to leave the building, but he refused, according to a new book on the final year of the Trump presidency, telling his lead agent, "I'm not getting in the car, Tim. If I get in that vehicle, you guys are taking off. I'm not getting in the car." The book says Pence then called the Pentagon with this order: "Get troops here. Get them here now. We've got to get the Congress to do its business."
Don't you feel like we're just living in a total propaganda-infested hellhole? I mean, it's Milley, Pelosi, and Pence, and they're all just dunking on Trump, one right after the other, and the media just assembles it. Trump has the document, and Trump's record is better than Milley record and Pelosi's records and everybody else's records on this. They all want the endless war. Trump does not. Trump has the documents to show that they're the people who drafted it. They give it to him, probably slip it in a box somewhere. They charge him with 38 felonies, just like that. Now, there is a counterpoint to this, just to be clear. If Trump did take that intentionally, then that would play into their argument that this was an intentional withholding of defense documents. You know, they got a subpoena to get the documents back, and then he didn't give the document back, and so that's willful withholding of national defense information. I still say that all gets superseded by the root power of the executive branch. He's the president. He's the commander-in-chief. It's a unique position. They're his documents. He can do what he wants with them. Now, there's another double standard here. Hillary Clinton. So we see a lot of criticisms for Trump in Trump's audio and a lot of the things that he has said. But Hillary literally, and her people literally, after a subpoena, deleted evidence. And they use software to do it. Here's Hillary. You believe this?
You were the official in charge. Did you wipe the server?
What, like with a cloth or something?
What, like with a cloth? No, of course I didn't delete it. Like with a cloth? No. Well, there's a bigger portion of this excerpt here. This is Hillary.
I have no idea. That's why we turned it over.
You were in charge of it. You were the official in charge. Did you wipe the server?
What, like with a cloth or something?
I don't know.
Well,
you
no.
know how it works digitally. Did you try to wipe the whole server?
I don't know how it works digitally at all. I do not have any.
You did not try.
Ed, I know you want to make a point, and I can just repeat what I have said.
It's a simple
In order to be as cooperative as possible, we have turned over the server. They can do whatever they want to with the server to figure out what's there, what's not there.
It's all deleted.
That's for the people investigating it to try to figure out. But we turned over everything that was work related. Every single thing.
No, you didn't.
Personal stuff, we did not. I had no obligation to do so and did not.
Oh.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much.
Oh, personal versus professional. Oh, very curious. And she dug in and dug her heels in and didn't let them take any of those other documents. But, she says she turned over everything. That's not true at all. In fact, this came out of a congressional committee hearing when James Comey, former FBI director, was in Congress being grilled by this guy. You remember him as John Ratcliffe, Trump's director of national intelligence.
My time's expired, but I have one last question, and I think that's important. At this point, based on everything, do you think that any laws were broken by Hillary Clinton or her lawyers?
Do I think that any laws were broken? Yeah. I don't think there's evidence to establish that.
Okay. Well, I think you're making my point when you say there's no evidence to establish that. Maybe not in the way she handled classified information, but with respect to obstruction of justice. And you've got a pen here. I just want to make sure the record's clear about the evidence that you didn't have, that you can't use to prove. So this comes from the FBI's own report. It says that the FBI didn't have the Clintons' personal Apple server used for Hillary Clinton work emails. That was never located, so the FBI could never examine it. An Apple MacBook.
Hillary just said she gave everything over, but nope, they couldn't examine that one.
Laptop and thumb drive that contained Hillary Clinton's email archives was lost, so the FBI never examined that.
Gone.
2 BlackBerry devices, provided the FBI didn't have SIM cards or SD data cards. 13 Hillary Clinton personal mobile devices were lost, discarded, or destroyed with a hammer, so the FBI clearly didn't examine those. Various server backups were deleted over time, so the FBI didn't examine that. After the State Department and my colleague Mr. Gowdy here notified Ms. Clinton that her records would be sought by the Benghazi Committee, copies of her emails on the laptops of both of her lawyers, Cheryl Mills and Harold Mills, and Heather Samuelson, were wiped clean with bleach bits, so the FBI didn't review that. After those emails were subpoenaed, Hillary Clinton's email archive was also permanently deleted from the Platte River Network with bleach bit, so the FBI didn't review that. And also after the subpoena, backups of the Platte River server were manually deleted. Now, Director, hopefully that list is substantially accurate because it comes from your own documents. My question to you is this. Any one of those in that very, very long list, to me, says obstruction of justice. Collectively, they scream obstruction of justice. And to ignore them, I think, really allows not just reasonable prosecutors, but reasonable people to believe that maybe the decision on this was made a long time ago not to prosecute Hillary.
Because you guys are corrupt as can be, not prosecuting Hillary Clinton. Nice list there from John Ratcliffe about all of the lies and obstruction and deleted evidence. Now, there was an interesting clip here from Joe Biden, and apparently this was just a joke. He said this, that I stole state secrets. And what was so fun about this clip is apparently right after this clip, the White House transcript says he said, all joking aside, right after this. But this clip spread around like wildfire because people don't trust that. I think that Joe says that regularly. He says, all joking aside, no, I'm being serious. All joking aside, I'm being serious. No, I'm serious, man. I'm being serious. And he gets all down here and he whispers into the microphone. It's all strange. And I'm being real serious. So like people don't understand and nobody really gets it. It's a weird joke, especially when people think that you literally are selling state secrets to foreign enterprises through your son Hunter. It's not something to joke about, Joe.
I was just thanking, anyway, I started off without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared.
So apparently the next line is, I was just joking. I'm not so sure about it. I'm not so sure. So it just sounds like he doesn't even know where he is. So I'm looking forward to crossing that line of dementia where he just starts admitting all of his crimes. It should be a lot of fun. Now, reaction to the Trump audio comes over from the folks on MSNBC. And man, they are just excited as can be about this audio. And I don't think they really know why they're excited. They just like hearing Trump talk, I guess. But it is going to be curious whether it leads to any actual increased liability in the criminal courts. I don't really see how, unless they're going to say this is part of a giant conspiracy. But we'll get there. Now, this is Rachel Maddow and Lawrence somebody or other. Here we go.
Lawrence. The audio tape that you played in the last hour, we're going to run it again. Audience gets to hear all 2 minutes of it uncut once again. And it brings to life page 15 and 16 of the indictment against Donald Trump, in which there is a partial transcript of what we hear tonight. And that issue, when you're reading the indictment, the words sound like, as you read them, like Donald Trump is showing a document. With the audio sounds, you hear those paper sounds. You hear, that sounds like he's holding up a document, which he describes as being pages long. This audio recording is, I'm, again, not a lawyer, don't even play one on TV, but
you are, though, right now.
It's like if you were charging somebody with bank robbery, and you had an audio recording of them being like, okay, I'm got my balaclava on, I'm walking into the bank, I'm now gonna rob the bank. Okay, ready? Here I go to rob the bank. Hey, ma'am, put the money in the bag, or I'll show, look at my gun. Okay, now I'm leaving the bank with the money. I mean, it's just, he's walking you through every step of the crime, including his state of mind, in terms of his knowledge that what he's doing is illegal, and he's doing it out loud, and it's on tape, and they have the tape, and now we have the tape.
Do we have the document? Do you have the location? I mean, you have the wrong jurisdiction. It's kind of an important problem there. do you have actual possession of the document? We don't know.
Well, Andrew Weismann is with us, and he has had to reach that standard in court of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And I will ask him if this recording does that, and if not, what else do you need? I suspect what else you need is the actual eyewitness testimony of the person who...
Oh, good call there, Lawrence. Yeah, you need the eyewitnesses. Yeah, you need some more evidence. You don't just need a recording, okay? That's not how our justice system works. You've got to authenticate it. You've got to validate it. It's got to have a proper chain of custody. And that is all on the government's burden. Trump is still innocent. And these people are talking here like, oh, gosh. How many years in prison do you think he should have there, Lawrence? How many? I don't know, 150 at least. Okay. You know, they're talking about stuff. It's kind of embarrassing. She certainly shouldn't play a lawyer on TV because there's a lot more you need. It's not just an audio recording there, Rachel.
Who probably made that recording, and others who we hear in that recording who can then supply the visual of, yes, he was holding up a document. It said top secret. It said Iran. He kept pointing to that spot.
Yeah, even that though, that like the document could be marked classified, but technically declassified. And my question is, are those people who would come in and even testify there, are they qualified? Do they know what a declassified document looks like? I would imagine they don't, because it probably doesn't look that much different than a classified document that hasn't been adjusted and shifted in markings. So they couldn't possibly know. But that alone doesn't get them to criminality. Look at these two people. They're about as happy as you've ever seen them. You know, most of the time when they're on these shows, because they're so miserable with their lives, you can see it emanating through their face and their pores, kind of like a soul's twisted. You know what happened in the Star Wars movies when you turn to the dark side? You know what happens? But man, they are happy. And look at them. They're like giddy. It's like they just went to Disneyland, the new version, which they really like now.
And then, yeah, that's pretty much proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Oh man, they got him. Trump's going down, buddy. Woo, it's about time. Well, they've been working on this for like a decade now. So something else is happening that's very fun, very interesting, this is Andrew Weismann. And Andrew Weismann was also on MSNBC. And he is the MSNBC knows-it-all. And he is here along with this guy again. And he's going to be telling us why this case doesn't need any facts anymore. It's all done. Trump's been convicted. We don't even need to really talk about it anymore. Case closed.
And Jack Smith's team here, when they listen to this?
Well, it's important for everyone to remember they have had this. In other words, we're learning about this, but they have the tape, and knowing Jack Smith, they have interviewed everybody other than the former president who was in that room. So they have all of the information about the tape recording, what happened in that room, and everyone's version of what they recall. So you don't put something like this in a charging instrument unless you have this completely locked down. That's just how anybody, and certainly how Jack Smith operates.
So that means they've got the witnesses, they've got the documents, they've got everything else that they need, and they leaked this material, and it's all buttoned up. Now, my question is, what charge is that going to be applicable to? Maybe the conspiracy charge, they'll try to use it for intentionality, but the willful retention did not happen in New Jersey. It happened in Florida.
And so the big picture here, I think, for people is this is not a tape recording where we need to fly spec it. I mean, this is game over if you are following the facts and the law.
This is game over if you're following the facts and the law. This is game over if you're following facts and the law.
This is not a tape recording where we need to fly spec it. I mean, this is game over if you are following the facts and the law.
Do we need a trial?
He's charged with having classified information and knowing that he had classified information. He's not even charged with dissemination, that is showing it to somebody, but even that can be proved.
Right, that's my point. He's not charged with dissemination, and that's what the audio shows. Or it shows willful retention of a document, right? He's in possession of a document outside of Florida.
And the tape recording is absolutely clear. This is a question now of simply, will the government get a trial before the general election? Will a jury actually follow the law.
Wait a minute. Why does it matter about when the trial happens? Wait a minute. Why does the trial date and the election matter at all? Shouldn't the trial have zero to do with the election? Like zero. One is about justice. One is about elections. Trump being prosecuted, if it is just about nobody being above the law, it should have nothing to do with the elections. They should be totally irrelevant from one another. But that's not what this is about. It's not about justice. This is the electoral campaign. So that's why they want America to have this election soon, so that Trump can be convicted and sidelined.
Is absolutely clear. This is a question now of simply, will the government get a trial before the general election? Will a jury actually follow the law and the facts? And will the electorate follow the facts and care? That's really what this is about. It is not about the facts. I mean, you have the former president on tape. And that's just one piece of evidence. And that just think about the search. I mean, like, we're talking about a tape recording. That's, of course, great evidence if you're a prosecutor, but that's one piece of a massive mountain of evidence. So this really is not a case now about the facts.
It's not about the facts, okay? We've got enough facts, okay? And first of all, you don't need to know all the facts, America. You let us deal with things like science and the law, and we'll just tell you really what's best for you. And just, rest assured that we're going to protect you from dangerous misinformation and disinformation. Sleep soundly at night. So we don't need any more facts. We don't need any more conversation. If the jurors do what's right in this country, they'll convict Trump and there will be nothing even to debate about it. Stop talking about it. Start executing our political enemies. So they are just, I think, part of a different world over there. Always fun to check in from time to time. Of course, Donald Trump is still responding to this. There will be a lot more as this battle continues. Thank you, my friends, for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this as we continue to cover. And now we are turning our attention over to the White House. Something strange happened over there today. Did the White House replace Karine Jean-Pierre? We tuned into the press briefing today, and I'm pretty sure this isn't her. I'm pretty sure, not positive, but like 99% sure that's not the same person. And why, oh why, would Karine not be there today? I actually don't know the answer, whether she's sick, on vacation, or whatever. But the point is, she was getting some serious questions about Hunter Biden and the Biden crime family yesterday and earlier in the week, and she was not doing such a good job on it. So we got this new and improved, I guess, substitute who's going to come out here and dictate to us that they're not answering any questions in the way that Karine was also answering questions. But I got to tell you, this makes me a little uncomfortable because Karine, I don't know how Democrats feel about this substitute. A substitute teacher comes in on press briefing day, and they're not the same person, clearly. And we've got, the Democrats, they have this hierarchy that they often put people on because they treat people like trading cards in a disgusting fashion. And Karine, I think, has more notches on that hierarchy scale because, as we know, Karine is a female. This woman is a female. Karine is a black female, though. Pretty sure this woman's not a black female. And Karine is also a lesbian. So we have black female lesbian, which is basically at the pinnacle of the hierarchy, I think, which is why you become a press secretary. You don't even really need a brain if you've got all of those other qualifications. And then you have other people who come out, and the substitute teacher, we do know she's a woman, but she's not a black woman, and we don't know the status of the relationship. So lesbian or straight, we don't know. So it could be like Karine's got 3 for 3. This woman might have 2 for 3 or 1 of 3, which could be, almost like a return to Jen Psaki. If it's like a 1 of 3, I'm pretty sure Jen's a woman. I'm sure of that, pretty sure. But she's white, and I'm pretty sure she's not gay. So it's almost like we're coming full circle again. So we're back to we're like Jen Psaki 2.0 again. It's very complicated. So as you can see, we've got a lot to unpack here. Now, this is the woman in question, and here is what she said. The question was, does the White House believe Attorney General Garland committed perjury when he testified under oath that Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss could bring charges outside of his district? Biden spokeswoman Olivia Dalton, I don't have any comment. Here's what she said.
U.S. Attorney David Weiss could bring charges outside. Does the White House believe Attorney General Garland committed perjury when he testified under oath that Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss could bring charges outside of his district?
I don't have any comment on this. Anita? Go ahead.
In 10 days of,
Stephen, I'm moving on. Anita?
Does the White House believe Attorney General Garland committed perjury when he testified under oath that Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss could bring charges outside of his district?
I don't have any comment on this. Anita? Go ahead.
In 10 days of,
Stephen, I'm moving on. Anita?
Stephen, I'm moving on. I'm not answering your questions. And so that was from RNC Research. No questions answered there. Here is another question and response, because Joe Biden brought his son over to Camp David after he took a plea deal. He also brought Hunter to the State Department dinner. And the question from the press, once again, is that appropriate behavior?
What message is the president trying to send to the American people when he invites his son to the state dinner and Camp David, as we saw this past weekend, amid everything he's going through?
Every president of the United States has invited their family to state dinner. This president also has a family. He is no different. And beyond that, I'm just not going to engage on this.
Okay, so she sounds almost identical to Karine, which is why this is so confusing. I can't keep track of them all. So it goes from Jen Psaki to Karine Jean-Pierre, and then from Karine Jean-Pierre back to Jen Psaki 2.0. Almost like we circled back to Jen Psaki. And shout out to 66 Anton for that one. We circled back to Jen Psaki. Isn't it amazing how these things work? Amazing. So now it's not just Jen Psaki and the media covering for the Biden crime family, although she is at the forefront of it. Here she was on with MSNBC explaining their take.
Yeah, I'm just curious because if you look at right-wing websites or watch certain TV channels, you'll hear all about Hunter at the state dinner. I mean, you will hear Jim Jordan going on and on and on about conspiracy theories. And you won't hear as much about this. And I'm just curious, the White House obviously not going to chime in on these audio tapes or anything like that. But at the same time, how does the Biden White House make a distinction that cuts through to people that are being honestly misled?
Yeah.
Such a good question, Mika. I don't spend too much time on right-wing websites, but I completely concur with what you're saying about
You should. Jen, come and watch our show. You'll learn something.
what's
Mika, you
out
too.
there
Come and join
the
us.
challenge the White House has right now. I mean, for them, if you're sitting in the White House right now, you're putting your head down around all of these investigations. They're not going to comment, or that is their strategy, on the specifics of any of Trump's legal woes. And the same thing on Hunter. I think what we saw with Hunter appearing at the state dinner was, in my suspicion, was the president, his son wanted to come, so his son's going to come to the dinner. Was that optically easier for the White House and the White House communications team? Absolutely not. But I suspect that was more in the family circumstance of him wanting to come and the president wanting to show that he loves his son and he's standing by him. What I suspect, Mika, as we watch this over the next couple of months, is they will be very quiet for the time being, but once it gets into the middle of the campaign, they're going to have to find a way, to your point, to draw that contrast, not by commenting on the specifics of a criminal investigation or the specific ups and downs of every legal development, but by drawing the morals and the values contrast, right? Of there's one president who values our national security and protects our secrets, and there's another former president candidate who doesn't. There's one who stands.
Is she nuts? They found boxes of stuff in Biden's house, his garage, in multiple locations, and the Penn Biden Center. 2 locations versus Trump's 1. More boxes, allegedly, than Trump's. And Trump was president. Joe Biden was not.
It's up for democracy and our democratic values, and there's one who doesn't. There's ways to draw the contrast without getting into the specifics, but I think we're not going to see that for a little while.
I don't think you can draw a contrast without getting into the specifics, because everybody just says, yeah, but your son, Joe. Like, you're out here talking about gun control. You're out here talking about the NRA and gun crimes. Your son just pled guilty to one. You're talking about everybody pay their fair share in taxes and so on. Your son just pled guilty to tax crimes. You're calling Trump colluding with the Chinese and the Russians and all this. Your son literally has text messages doing it. So how are they going to do that? It's going to be a good question. But they're not going to go without trying. This is a great clip. I want to share this over from Tom S. Elliott, who put this together. He is the founder of a company called Grabian. And this is a great clip. I really want to encourage you to go follow Tom Elliott. He's on Twitter at Tom S. Elliott. And you can see he's biased. Perfect. A journalist. He's on Telegram. He's the founder of Grabian. And they posted this on Twitter. He says, regime gaslighters. Actually, the DOJ's tilted against privileged white heirs of the president.
We keep hearing things from Republicans like
the president. Here is the media just protecting Joe Biden for minutes.
We keep hearing things from Republicans like sweetheart deal. Give us a reality check.
This is
you nailed it.
Not some sweetheart deal.
Well, I don't think it was a sweetheart deal.
There's no indication that he's getting a special or a sweetheart deal.
So is this a sweetheart deal?
No,
Yes.
it's not.
So it does not appear that this is a sweetheart deal.
The idea of throwing around these terms about slap on the wrist and probation traffic ticket, it's just not accurate.
They focus on this and say, oh my God, 2-tier standard of justice. He got a sweetheart deal. And you're like, guys, I mean, you just sound like morons.
Make sure that the American people understand that he's not being treated better or worse.
I've seen no reason to think he had any reason to tilt the field in favor of Hunter Biden.
That there was no home state favoritism here in Delaware.
Bending over backwards to not show any favor, even any appearance of favor to the president's son.
You know what we've seen?
How do they talk like this with a straight face?
A lot of pictures that show you what addiction does to somebody. And a lot of noise.
Oh, I get so tired of that. He's just an addict. He's just a poor addict. Well, you know what step 9 says? You got to go make amends for all of the things you've done. You don't get to have your daddy elected president and just corrupt the FBI in your favor. It's not how the 12 steps work.
To distract from Trump.
Everything that has come out of what we've seen with the Republican attacks on the Biden crime family, it's all projection.
And the addict thing,
is that projection right there, Chris Cuomo?
Matters to me. It matters to me in the Hunter Biden analysis. Okay,
is that
it
picture
does.
Projection?
This guy is not acting just as some wily, crafty guy who's trying to get away with things.
America can identify with kids who are addicted, who make bad mistakes.
Hunter Biden made some very poor decisions in recent years, but he has not been charged criminally. There's been nothing has been found to be illegal with those poor decisions.
They can't name one crime that was committed.
He committed no.
There's a whole book of them from our friend Garrett Ziegler at MarcoPoloUSA.org.
No crime with the gun.
If this wasn't Hunter Biden, it is likely he wouldn't have been prosecuted at all.
Feds wouldn't have brought this charge against somebody whose last name was not Biden.
If his last name was not Biden, I don't even think he would have been charged.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, if his last name was Trump or he showed up there and blinked wrong at a January 6th event or something like that, they would be locked in solitary. So I'll leave you to go watch the rest of that over at Tom Elliott, the supercut about the regime gaslighters, right? These are all people who were just propagandists who were out there just spreading propaganda, just repeating talking points, not even really thinking for themselves. And reality knows better. So the cover up continues. The White House doing something with Karine. Hopefully she's back tomorrow and we can listen to her tell us nothing. All right. And our final segment on the day is about old Hunty. New text messages reveal more Biden crime family criminality. Hunter's WhatsApp texts, in fact, show that he was scheming with a businessman over from China. And now Congress wants to know more about it. Jim Jordan and Byron Donalds trying to dig in, but Nancy Pelosi, she can't be bothered about it. She's too busy working on abortion. So the Oversight Committee over from the GOP in Congress, they published this. They said that the Biden family cover-up evidence continues. In a WhatsApp exchange dated August 3, 2017, Hunter Biden tells CEFC Gongwen Dong, aka Kevin, he says the following: the Bidens, with an S, are the best I know at doing exactly what chairman wants for this partnership. CEFC. Now, CEFC is a CCP-linked Chinese energy company. Here is the full exchange. Here's the message. It's a WhatsApp message, August 3rd, 2017. It says the following. WhatsApp message with SM and Dong. SM says, okay, very simple. Here's the deal. $10 million per annum budget, used further in the interest of the JV. This move to $5 million is completely new to me and obviously not acceptable. All expenditures, expenses, and salaries will be agreed upon by the board. In my quote, Biden's, okay, my quote, Biden's, so SM is Biden. My Biden's expenses and determination of how Biden, the loan $5 million capital, will be determined by Owasco in consultation with Hudson. And we know, like, these are all of the other shell companies, right? They're all moving money around with multiple layers. So they're going to move money into Hudson Capital. Now, Hudson Capital will be utilized for expenses beyond those Biden Owasco expenses has committed to the monochrome business. He says, Kay, we won't break 5 and the additional 5 can roll to next year if the chairman and the company review is favorable. So this Chinese company needs to get a favorable review. They need some grease, some leverage. The Bidens are going to provide it. It all has to agree to by the board. But if the chairman doesn't value this relationship at being worth at least $5 million, then I'm just baffled. He's saying, look, here's how the money's going to move. It's going to move this way and this way and this way. It's $10 million a year for the budget, $5 million new, move the $5 million around. And honestly, he's like, if you don't think that our leverage is worth $5 million, I'm baffled. As to point 3, you saw minor clarification of exclusivity, so that point 3 is done. And point 4, he says, we're saying the same thing, I hope. Please, let's put this to bed tonight. Sign officially tomorrow or anytime as late tonight as you want and get to work. I am tired of this, Kevin. I am tired of this, Kevin, which is Dong. He says, I can make $5 million in salary at any law firm in America, which is amazing. I mean, that's a really good salary. I can make $5 million in salary at any law firm in America. For what? Just being Joe's son, basically. If you think this is about the money, it's not. He says, the Bidens, S, the Bidens, plural, although this is an apostrophe S. The Bidens are the best I know at doing exactly what the chairman wants from this partnership. The Bidens are the best I know at doing exactly what the chairman wants from this partnership. That's Hunter. He says, please, let's not quibble over peanuts. Dong responds. He says, do you want me to talk to Zhang or do you want to have a call together? You want me to talk to Zhang or you want to talk about this together? Hunter tells them the Bidens can help you get it done. Now, guess what happened? Remember, Hunter told him, sign the documents by late tonight and let's get to work. What happened? The next day, the very next day, one of Hunter Biden's shell companies called Owasco, Professional Corporation, received $100,000 from the CEFC. Dropped it in there. Source, 100 grand. Beneficiary, some clearing services, USD in dollars, currency, wire date, August 4th, one day after. Comes through Federal Wire, credit to Owasco, the originator of the transfer, CEFC Infrastructure Investments, the U.S. entity. 100 grand to get the deal done. Transferred in 2017, one day after the text went out. So the Oversight Committee tells us, who is the chairman? Who is this person? Well, his name is Yi Jiangming. He's a Chinese billionaire tied to intelligence gathering. So Hunter's working with Chinese intelligence. Ye stated that China's vision with the CEFC is to obtain overseas resources and to serve national strategy. So they conduct all these deals to get mining rights and mineral rights and energy, and they use Hunter to get approval through the American bureaucratic state. He wanted to expand China's reach and influence around the world. And the Oversight Committee says, as more facts come to light, it becomes even more evident that the Bidens put China and their interests first and America last. So pretty troubling thread. Hunter says, I want some money. The Chinese drop 100 grand in his bank account. And it's not just that message. There was a lot more from the Oversight. They've got evidence that this guy, Rob Walker, who was a business associate of the Bidens, here's what he told the FBI in a recorded interview. So it's not just Hunter moving these things around. It's the Bidens family. But he also says, okay, in this interview, the FBI asks Rob Walker, they say, did the Vice President Biden ever show up at any CEFC meeting or anything like that? Even once he was out of office? Yes, he did. Any times when he was in office? And did you hear Hunter say that he was setting up a meeting with his dad with them while dad was in office? Rob Walker says, yeah. Recorded FBI interview, 2020. So we know that there's a lot more smoke here, and the Republicans are digging into it. Jim Jordan says he wants to speak to David Weiss and to Leslie Wolf, U.S. attorneys. Here is what that exchange looked like.
And are we going to get any of these burner phone records, any of these credit card records from these shell companies? Because that could lead us somewhere.
Yeah, I think that'll probably, Jesse, primarily out of Chairman Comer's committee, the Oversight Committee. He's been focused on the business records associated with the Biden, business enterprise. We want to talk to David Weiss. Chris is right, your previous guest. We want to talk to David Weiss, the U.S. attorney. We want to talk to Leslie Wolf. She's the one who stopped the search warrant. She's the one who said you can't ask questions during the investigation. To Mr. Shapley said you can't ask questions about Joe Biden. You can't even bring up the term the big guy. I mean, stop and think about this for a second. So Joe Biden said he wasn't involved in his son's business dealings. That sure looks like it wasn't accurate. And Merrick Garland said he took a hands-off approach to the investigation. That sure looks like it wasn't accurate as well. So those are the questions we have to ask. The first one will be done, I think, in Chairman Comer's committee. He is focused on that the entire 6 months we've been in Congress. We will continue to focus on the Justice Department. So we want to talk to David Weiss. We want to talk to Mr. Estrada. We want to talk to Leslie Wolf. We want to talk to all these U.S. attorneys and say, why did you do it this way? I mean, this is a credible...
We know why, to cover it up.
Whistleblower, 14 years experience, handled some of the biggest international tax cases in that time frame, handled some of the biggest ones that the IRS has dealt with. We think he's credible. He's raised important issues. We want to get the answers. And the way you do that is to talk to these attorneys who handled this case.
It is exactly right. And we know that the whistleblower has confirmed to us that he was not alone in the room when David Weiss explained to everybody that he does not have charging authority in California or D.C. And so now that we've got the names of 5 other people in addition to the whistleblowers, we've got Leslie Wolf, we've got David Weiss, we've got like a dozen people now that we can start digging into to ask questions about this. And what's so interesting is, the FBI, they're very, very big fans of confidential human sources. We know that in the Proud Boys trial, the defense attorneys in that case said that there were at least 50 CHSs that they were able to identify, both from the FBI and from Homeland Security. But we got a total of confirmed 8 that even the government agreed to on that day. So just dozens, if not hundreds, of CHSs were present on January 6th. We also know that many of those informants would go into attorneys' offices and go into prayer groups. We know that many of these FBI informants and agents would text people, like in the Whitmer kidnapping plot, and say things like, the plan is to kill the governor. And you go, what? That's your plan, bro. It's not our plan. So the FBI wants tons of informants everywhere you turn. They're like, oh, you'll inform? That's great. We'll even pay you for it. But they don't want somebody who's going to inform on the Bidens. They're like, oh, no, you're an informant for the Democrats? This guy apparently offered to inform on the Bidens as one of their big donors, and the FBI rejected him.
Well, it was Bo and Hunter first, and then when I said, yeah, I might have that left in my budget, and political contributions were a regular mainstay thing for our industry, and then it went to Dennis Toner, who I said, Dennis, I think this is a campaign thing, so the contribution limit is $2,600. How do I get around that? He said, how many managers do you have you can trust? I said, all of them. And he said, well, have them write a check and reimburse them. I knew that's how you got around the limit. I didn't know it was illegal.
All right.
And,
So the FBI came to you. They say, we got you. And you offered what to the FBI?
They met me at a gas station on a Wednesday morning at 8:30 in the morning, and they followed me from my house. And being a law-abiding citizen, I mean, I have the last interaction with law enforcement I've had outside of this. Now, this is obviously a big thing, but outside of that was a traffic ticket, a speeding ticket in 1997. So I'm a law-abiding citizen. When the FBI comes up to me, I talk to them. So I sat down with them for 4 hours and told them everything. And they said, these donations that you made in the name of other people. I said, well, but the Bidens, I mean, that was as a request from Dennis Toner, the campaign manager.
Whoa.
And they wouldn't have it. So they asked me to wear a wire. They did put me in situations where I was involved with other people. And once it got to Dennis and to Joe, the entire investigation was called off, and the indictment was unsealed. And so I did maybe 5 or 6 different appearances, and the targets that they wanted to focus on were, it just didn't work out. But I told them everything I know because I cooperate with law enforcement. I believe in law enforcement. And now seeing what has happened with Hunter and having an inside look into the evidence, thanks to MarcoPoloUSA.com and Miranda Devine, having an inside look at the evidence, I know that I got a raw deal, unfortunately. And so did Harvey Walker, Joseph Timlin, Brenda Mathis, Kevin Fleming, Sarah Collins, Bob Adams, other people who have been charged in the district with tax crimes, all were charged with felonies, all had no say, and Hunter's information and his plea bargain was announced the day that his information was released. That's never happened. Hunter is the only person ever in the district to be charged as a felon, as a misdemeanor under 26 U.S. Code Section 7203. No one else in 30 years has ever been charged with that as a standalone charge as a misdemeanor. He's the first. I sent you verification of that through Pacer. That's not right. And I think U.S. Attorney David Weiss has some explaining to do with respect to the public of how Hunter, who was a lawyer, by the way, who's a lawyer, who also had his passport revoked by the State Department because of his tax liens in 2015 and 2016. And he's a lawyer, and then he is not charged with tax evasion. He's not charged with felonies. He gets misdemeanors for not filing. He had tax issues going back to 2009, 2010. He had tax liens put on his homes, on his wife's homes.
Daddy's a senator.
And it's not that I want anything bad to happen to Hunter. It's my issue is with the U.S. Attorney and not playing fair with citizens.
So shout out to Chris Tigani, very articulate, very nice segment from him there, articulating exactly the double standard that exists. He got exploited by the FBI. He got approached by the Biden people to commit crimes, unfortunately believed them, got charged by the FBI. They go out and put him through the ringer along with a bunch of other people. Then Hunter just walks away. And I just can't even imagine how much evidence the FBI has on the Bidens, that they don't need it. They don't even need him. No, we're good. We've got everything we need. He's already completely in our pocket. We don't need any more information on it. We've already known Hunter is our asset, okay? He's just part of us now. We own him. We own the Biden administration. So Byron Donalds is also on this case. But first, Nancy Pelosi, in the other side of the House of Representatives, she's not that concerned about any of this. In fact, she's more worried about abortion. In fact, she's so worried about abortion, she's basically sprinting, I think, maybe to the next procedure.
If the president says he never talked about business,
Victoria have work to do to save women
from
a very destructive Republican Party in this House.
Wow.
You should be worried about that.
Wow.
Does any of this bother you, Speaker Pelosi?
What bothers me are the Republicans standing in the way of your reproductive freedom.
Get out of my way! I've got women's rights to fight for. Move!
If the president says he never talked about business,
abortion,
Victoria have work to do to save women from a very destructive Republican Party in this House. You should be worried about that.
Does any of this bother you, Speaker Pelosi?
What bothers me are the Republicans standing in the way of your reproductive freedom.
Man, she's so amazing. She's just, I don't know, living in her own world. Racing around the Capitol, fighting for women's rights, saving them from those MAGA Republicans. And then Byron Donalds cleans up this entire segment with more brilliance, as per usual, explaining why Merrick Garland needs to see some serious repercussions.
It doesn't actually explain it at all as far as I'm concerned, because we already know that the IRS whistleblower testified that they tried multiple times to bring charges. David Weiss tried to bring charges in California. That was blocked by the Attorney General in California. So if Merrick Garland gave him free reign, why would the AG in California block David Weiss from doing that? Why would the AG block David Weiss from another jurisdiction? Corrupt. And why would Merrick Garland block David Weiss from becoming a special prosecutor? Because he realized how explosive the information he was looking into with respect to Hunter Biden. At the end of the day, the reason why he had all the jurisdiction he needed in Delaware, but nowhere else, is because he was being stopped by Merrick Garland to do so. And so we're going to go through the process of figuring out where all this actually leads. But in my view, Merrick Garland does not have clean hands whatsoever with this matter.
No, he doesn't. Man, Byron is looking sharp. Look at that. Look at that suit and tie, man. He's looking crisp. And I think, is that a little bit of gray coming in the beard? Looking good. I'm seeing some Trump Donalds for the election the next season. It's not a bad pick. Yeah, it's not a bad lineup. He's looking sharp, man. He's looking good. He sounds good. He's you know, it's fun to actually watch politicians find their groove. You know, I remember watching Matt Gaetz come up a little bit. He tried a bunch of stuff and now he feels like he's in his groove. Man, Byron is hitting his groove. He's just crushing it. So very good stuff. The Republicans continuing to hammer away on the Biden crime family. We will continue to cover it. A lot more to come, no doubt about it. Thank you for subscribing, my friends, wherever it is you're watching. Thank you for hitting the like button on this video so that more people can come and join us as we continue to unpack all of this news. We are now done for the day. We covered a lot of ground. The Hunter Biden text messages, the new $100,000 payment, Karine's replacement, substitute Karine today. I don't know what that was about. We also have Trump responding to the audio, which was a pure defense of it, and it implicates Milley and Pelosi in their collusion. And we went through the full audio and talked about some of the defenses that I thought were appropriate, including, you know, yeah, it's an audio recording, but it's very tangentially related to the underlying indictment. It might be related to a conspiracy charge, maybe some intentionality, but it happened outside of Florida, not in Florida. And we've got a lot of questions about the audio itself. So a lot that we covered. Now it's time to hear from you and to see what you have to say. We're always checking in with our friends and our amazing members at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, where we do member-only morning streams. We hop on in the morning, see what's going on with the Trump docket, the presidential schedule, the congressional committee schedule, get our bearings on the day. We'd love it if you joined us. Great way to support our work and connect with other people. watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And if you're a member on YouTube, you get a lot of the same stuff, but we need you to join Telegram. so that you can get the after party. That's the only thing that we do off YouTube. But my friends, now let's hear from you and see what you have to say about this. And starting us off was our friend Tanya Karas, who gave us a double dip Tuesday tip, baby. Taco Tuesday. Double dip from Tanya Karas. Says, thanks for all you do, Rob. Love the shows. And thank you, Tanya. Tanya's on our locals community. And every Tuesday, we celebrate Taco Tuesday, except today was Taco Cacciatore Day and Snickers. So come and join us. And thank you very much, Tanya. We had another one come in from Dolphin Fan is the Man. And he invited 5 new members. 5 new members coming in, courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the Man in the house. Big welcomes to Golden Gaming, Tripos, Tom Seattle, Monica Jones, and Yannick G. Courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the Man. And yes, V's doing some clipping along with John McGarvey. We got this morning's chats. John has a new meme, which is Field of Greens. Oh, it's my Karine hair, man. It's my Karine hair. I'm out there, you know. Listen, this is why you need to get your Field of Greens, all right? You know how hard this is for me to do every day out there? It's back-breaking work, all right? I'm literally picking all these greens. Look at this. I got that road done this morning. And then I got a haircut. That's why we're here on the show. Get your Field of Greens. Get your Field of Greens at fieldofgreens.com. Save 15% off with code Robert. Thank you, John. And there's a lot of other good stuff over there. Look at all this stuff. Other good stuff for you to check out. Fortify, creatine. We've got whole food bars, all sorts of amazing stuff. And get your greens. They're delicious. Wims says, this almost seems more like Trump trying to convince them that they're seeing secret info. Oh, I see what you're saying. So Wims is saying like you're showing it to them and like they don't believe you. But he's like, oh, look, it's secret. You know, I mean, it really is secret. Like it exonerates me. Yeah, I was listening to their like Oz, like, oh, wow, like that looks serious. But maybe they're just like, oh, okay, whatever. I get your point. Like they are seeing secret info. Anything that the president's going to show you is going to get some oohs and ahs out of it. Doesn't make it illegal. Thank you, Wims. Good to see you. 2012, Jameson says, there are Supreme Court cases on separation of power, some around Reconstruction and taking of property. You want the case? Sure. Do you have... Well, I don't know. Well, sure. I mean, I'm always interested in what you send over, so you can certainly send it over to me. Some around Reconstruction and the taking of property. I don't know that that's necessarily going to be on point. Well, maybe it would. Unless it's the taking of classified property. We want executive cases and really anything that is talking about the executive branch's power over war, over documents. I don't know that you're going to find any cases on point. I think this is a new issue. But certainly, I'm interested in other theories. Like, if you guys have theories, if you listen to me say something and you say that is dead wrong, send me an email or leave a comment. If you're like, Rob, obviously that's stupid. I'd love to hear your takes because sometimes I am wrong. A lot of the times I'm wrong. And we like to correct the record and we find our way. It's like, you know, like we're meandering around trying to figure it out on the fly as we find truth. That's part of the journey. Anybody who comes out and says, this is true, end of story, next topic, is Fauci, and we can't trust those people. A bad poet says CNN released the tape because it did not fit the trial. Yeah, that's another good take on it. Yeah, maybe that's why they released it. It's like, it's not useful to us, so we might as well use it as propaganda. Pretty amazing. 2012, Jameson says, USA versus Klein. This limits the Presidential Records Act in theory of power. All right, I'll look at that one. Yeah, thank you for that one. U.S. versus Klein. We're going to start to see when Trump and his team start filing motions. I haven't done a ton of research on these issues because Trump's team is doing it. They're doing all of the research now, and they're going to file a bunch of motions And then the government's going to look up the cases that they cite, and they're going to respond, and they're going to say, your cases are crap. And then Trump's going to respond, and he's going to say, no, your cases are crap. And so we're going to see a lot of this stuff. But that doesn't negate what you're submitting here, which sounds great. So thank you for sending that in. 2012 Jameson in the house. Beyond Geostars is on YouTube. He's got a channel called Beyond Geostars. He says, come see my cancer journey on YouTube. Love you. And so go subscribe to Beyond Geostars and join him on his cancer journey, which is hopefully very successful and short-lived, which means you're recovered and back and healthy and joining us on all of our future live streams. Thanks for being here, Geo. And go support Geo if you're interested in that type of content. This one came in from something I can't read. I don't know what that. FP Smiley Face House is here. Says, USA is done. As a Japanese, I choose Mexico, 100%. So that must be Japanese. Thank you for the tip from Japan. Shout out to our Japanese followers. Amazing. Blows my mind. I would love to come visit your country one day. USA is done. As a Japanese, I choose Mexico. Mexico's a pretty place too. A lot of good stuff down there too. You know, the USA is going through something. We're going through a little bit of a, I hate to use the word transition, but yeah. But, you know, we're going to have some ebbs and flows. The USA is a strong nation of countrymen and women. Our federal government's a different story. Thank you for tuning in here from Japan. And thanks for sending in this message. Really cool. Really cool. It always kind of blows my mind when that happens. Very cool. So shout out to our friend. Terribly sorry I can't pronounce your name. Hey! This looks like it's Rob and Viva on psychedelics, I think. On acid outside of the president's. Okay. Mount Rushmore psychedelic journey with Viva and Rob. Sounds with a heart in there, man. It's love. America love psychedelic trip on Mount Rushmore. All right, thank you for that one. This one came in from Salty Sarge. That was from Jigam. Joey, this is from Salty Sarge, says Joey the Neck Maddow. Joey the Neck Maddow. Oh my gosh. Did she have a neck hanging out? All right, let's see. Let's check the neck. Let's go check the neck. Yeah, there's a little bit of a neck, I guess, going on here. You know, this guy has a nose. Did you notice the nose? He's the MSNBC knows it all. He knows it all because he's their legal knows it all. Sometimes our noses get a little bit shiny on camera, you know, and we try to take care of that. But he definitely knows it all. That's the Weismann. That's Weismann. Is that, can I not say that? We all have noses. I mean, my nose shines. Look at my nose. It shines. I try to take care of that for us here. Watch this. Watch how fast I can do this. Let's see if I can clean this up a little bit. We do an anti-shine right now, and we come back, and the shine's a little bit better, I think. You know, we all have noses that get a little bit shiny. It's all right. It's not a big deal. And so that was the cow and the nose it all. All right. So we've got some other things to talk about in our super chats. That was from Salty Sarge. We have this one from Michael Allen Hughes, who says election interference on full display. On full display. Thank you, Robert, from Michael Allen Hughes. Salty Sarge. Thank you, Michael. I think you're right about that. I think that it is election interference. I think they know it is election interference. I think it is their entire campaign. Election interference on full display. Thank you, Robert. We have this one from Salty Sarge, says Dalton. It's a roadhouse redux. First rule is to stay calm. First rule is to stay calm. It's a roadhouse redux. Yeah, staying calm is a good thing to do. We have this one from Fred. Thank you, Fred. Says Weismann is the worst in the DOJ. That's the knows it all. He's called the pit bull by attorneys. He was the U.S. attorney in the Mueller probe, makes Monaco, Garland, and Wolf Puppies. I'm not sure about that. I don't think Andrew Weissmann is a pit bull. Did you see him? Leonard says Dems are tricky and sly. I thought that they would claim the new lady was Karine. Oh, maybe she transitioned or she's identifying differently today. A bad poet says great work, inadmissible in court, so release it to the government media. Another good take there. Yeah, they can't use it at trial, which is why they just release it to us. Broccoli Rob in the house. I happen to love broccoli. You know, I think it's pretty dang good. I was a little heavier back then. You can see I should have been eating more broccoli from that photo. Thanks for digging that one up. A little bit of an older photo there. I should have been eating more broccoli. Dang it. A little chunkier back in that day. But thank you for the broccoli comment. I don't think it's a bad look. Salty says, Prism knows all, and you see what they do with it. Wait until AI does what they do without a conscience. So it will be the same. And we have a couple other ones coming in. Tara says, so many questions about the last 2 years, like the fake SS agents allegedly around the Bidens. The document that was dropped by Joe on a foreign trip. Yeah, do you remember that one that we were talking about, the Tazzy and Ollie situation that then never actually went anywhere? It was a weird story. A lot of questions. And looking back in hindsight, and we listened to Pelosi and to Milley have these conversations, it's shocking how obvious it is that these people were all colluding together for their own end. 63 Rambler says, if Milley were telling the truth about Trump and Iran, wouldn't he himself be disseminating classified info? No, I mean, he would just be talking about policy decisions, unless he released the actual, documents themselves. But I don't think that would cross that line. But that's from 63 Rambler. Thank you for that one. Third Proverb says, did you hire Zulu or did he sneak in stage left? No, we didn't hire Zulu. Zulu's just been here for a long time and participating in the chat, and maybe he did come from stage left, maybe not. We're not really sure where Zulu came out from. I don't know. This one came in from Broccoli Rob in his field of memes. That's right, man. Field of greens and field of memes. Don't let your memes just be memes. Turn them into greens and then insert them into your body. Broccoli Rob. Oh, Broccoli Rob. Isn't that from The Office? Wasn't there a Broccoli Rob in The Office? Now that I'm thinking about that. It's a dish? V says it's a dish? I didn't know that. All right, so this one came in from Robert Rogers. He says, could the tape be released, be considered jury tampering because the known tape is not admissible and leaked it to taint the potential jury? Yes, I think it could be. I think it should be a sanctionable thing. Like, where did this tape come from? There's a reason we have protective orders. They keep telling us that this is such a serious, case, and they only speak through their filings and all the other things, and then they just leak stuff to the media. Now, they might have leaked it, as I think a bad poet pointed out, because it's not really usable in the current trial. And yeah, I mean, it wouldn't. They leak everything else, I think, to craft a narrative, right? It's to craft a story. Same thing's happening here. Trust Two Kids says, thanks for another great show. Please show the puppies. All right, so I'll show the puppies. And these are still available over with Mama Govea. And the email for Mama Govea is marianne@ericshouse.org. Where the heck did these go? I just played them yesterday. All right, so here are the puppies. And you can hear them. You can hear them. All right. There they are. And The address where you can send emails is marianne@ericshouse.org. 5 are still available. Bunch of good little puppies. Let's see them. So, super cute. Just, ridiculously cute. And so my mama is finding them new homes. And if you'd like to check them out, marianne@ericshouse.org is this address right down here if you'd like to talk to them. All right. And so Vientikis shared this. Apparently this is the dish. This is a broccoli rabe dish. That's the broccoli rabe dish, but that doesn't really look like broccoli. I mean, I guess it's a kind of broccoli, but that's not what I'm thinking. That's not what I'm thinking. So, all right, so let's take our attention over to Twitter. Say hello to our Twitter friends before we wrap this up and go over to our members-only after party on watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And who is in the house on Twitter today? We got 5 viewers over there, man. I'd say things are pretty out of control. We've got Vientikis. We've got Deplorable Fred. Danny McWilliams is in the house. Deplorable says, Rob, do a search on Christopher Wray and Miles Guao. You're not going to believe. Guao was Ray's client making $6.5 million a year at his firm. No, Guao was imprisoned by Ray and not allowed to talk. It's amazing. Says, Rob, you're wrong. Do some dirt on Weismann. I'm serious. From Johnny. From Deplorable Fred. Danny McWilliams says, doing great, building an electric car from the ground up. Need a lawyer to work pro bono. And he's going to post plans online. V has a little bit of a thread here. Says, I want to point out I'm not a fan of simple possession laws. They are de facto pre-crime laws. Possession as a part of a previously attached crime is one thing, but if I throw some random ink on a stranger, it looks exactly the same as a classified document. Then by simple possession law, I can be charged with a crime. Simple possession law allows individuals to be duped and or forced to be criminals. Let's see where this is going. All right. Says, I believe it was Myanmar. One set of police gave journalists classified documents, then the other set of police that was waiting just outside their office went in and arrested them. With simple possession laws, you could theoretically forcibly attach something to a person, which would then put them in possession by definition. Simply possessing something does not mean the person has possession of an item as part of a crime, nor does it axiomatically dictate that they will commit a crime, nor that their possession is for criminal purposes. The whole premise is you might do something bad, which is pre-crime. End. From our friend Vientikis on Twitter. And there's a lot of case law about possession. And oftentimes they'll refer back to language called dominion or control. Do you have dominion over the thing or do you have control over the thing? Because, for example, like let's say two people are in a car together and there's drugs under the seat of the passenger. Car pulls over. Who's in possession of the drugs? Passenger may be the person who is in closest proximity to the drugs, but maybe they're not ultimately in possession. So the driver says it's their drugs, but the passenger says it's the other guy's drugs. So then we say, well, they're both kind of there. They both could touch it. Who actually has true possession of it? Who has dominion or control over it? And so you look at all the different factors, the different indicia, and then you'll ascribe possession to the person who exercises the most dominion or control over the thing. So in other words, you could be in possession of something, but not even have physical possession of it because you exhibit dominion or control over the object. We've got Tesla owner, Asian POC, says, you mean with a cloth? We've got Dark Side Digital, says, I've got a theory on the audio. One thing I heard him saying was pass that over. And then you hear him ruffling the papers. I wonder if one of the other people had a random stack of papers that he just used as an example while telling the story. TJ says sock drawer case relies heavily on Crew versus Cheney, where Judge ABJ pitched as saying the law doesn't want courts to intervene on the PRA and the remedy is for Congress to settle civil disputes with legislation unless of an imminent emergency. That's some good details there from TJ King. We've got Ton Trans in the house telling the GOP to stop whining. Olivia Dalton got flagged for us courtesy of Maid Ghost. Phil Reno is here. Says, trying to give my sister a bottle of red pills by introducing her to some podcast. Watching the Watchers was #1 on the list, my friend. Give her a shout out if you can. Shout out to Jessica C. in the house, courtesy of our friend Reno. Phil inviting Jessica to come and join the show. Jessica C., welcome aboard. We're grateful that you're here and listening. Hopefully you join us as we continue to unpack all of this. A lot of great, smart people here. Welcome aboard. Free says, love your show, bro. So informative. Thank you, Free. And Trump will win says, you're the best. Thank you. And those are from our friends over on Twitter. Al Holman's over there. And Snarky Retirees also over there. Good to see all of our Twitter friends. And thank you, Al. Says, Trump was bragging of his wisdom. No doc to find. There's no document to find, but there is a whale to chase, from our friend Al Holman. Okay, my friends, and that is it for us on Twitter, and courtesy of our friends on Rumble and on YouTube and on Locals. We are going over to our member-only after party at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, and so come and check us out. Where we're going now. If you're a member on YouTube, you can go over to the community section in the app and grab the Telegram link so you can join us over there. Don't forget to grab your Field of Greens on the way out, fieldofgreens.com. Save 15% with code Robert, including broccoli. It's great. Get your broccoli hair. It makes you feel great. The vegetables want to be eaten. You'll be bursting with green energy, the good kind. If you like this mind map software and you want to use it, you can create a free account at spotlightlawyer.com/mindmap to check that out. Big thanks to the mods who mod down the fort and keep things nice and orderly here for us. The Antikiss Prime, K-Bean, Just Cause, Playin' Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zulu, Beyond Geostars, Zach Nichols, John Allen, Janek909, our friend Dog Digger, and Donut Mind Me. Shout out to our meme smith, Sleepy Dog Lee, Geegum Geegum, and our friend Nathan N810. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. And we are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our after party. We hope that you join us there so that we can continue on this conversation. But if not, we will be back here tomorrow to do it all again. Thank you for once again subscribing wherever it is you're watching it. Thank you for liking this video. And thank you for inviting somebody to come in and join us as we get back here for our live stream tomorrow at the same time, so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.